What's good, YouTube fam? It's your boy Tony, aka Descendant of Chaos and Controversy. So I know I brought this up before to try to paint a picture and give some perspective on the construct of our society and how it seems to have been apparent throughout the course of history that there are two opponents on the board. And basically, I've compared our society to a chessboard. Okay. And it seems that there was always this conflict between two sides, black and white. Okay. One who have, through the narrative over the course of history, held a position of power, influence, control, and the others were just subjects under that rule of thumb, so to speak. Okay. And there was always that fight against the tyranny of injustices that was projected on the particular group. Now, painting a narrative. Ironically, we look at a lot of hypocrisy and contradictions that plagues our society and how it influences certain indoctrinated thoughts to how perception is manipulated, okay? And how dangerous rhetoric is entertained, but for whatever reason isn't challenged, questioned, especially when it comes from particular content creators. And it is noticeable amongst others who have pointed it out, but yet have been met with such defiance or denial, so to speak. Looking at tonight's broadcast under Ricky Manor, who had a guest on, and they were discussing in comparison how the similarities are between the two societies within the black community and the white community. How often, whenever we deal or entertain debates or talk about issues that affect our community or society, which we point out and see as it being an issue that affects us, citizens within this country, and we're looking for some kind of reform, some change, something that may present a sense of security, protection, to not have us look at certain entities as a threat. And in comparison, we are dealt with, how should I say, ignorance. And I find it funny how when dealing with certain topics that we bring up, when it comes to the black community, we are downplayed to a great degree whenever we address issues that need to be addressed, express our grievances, which we are told not to. But in comparison, the same things that we point out as being problematic, you have those in the white community who share the same issues that we face. Okay? Poverty is something that we have in common when it comes to the social structure, when it comes to us being identified by class. Okay? You have the upper middle class to the rich to even the middle class, and then you have the lower to the poor. Okay? You don't hear issues in the black community when it comes to those who are in the upper middle class, such as my parents, to those who are rich. Some of the problems that, are the grievances that are those that are in the impoverished areas are the same issues that those in the white community share as well. You know, when it comes to the jobs, when it comes to the housing, when it comes to maybe the neighborhoods, the pollution, um, a lot of the bad nutrition as far as like the foods and a lot of the health issues that arises and you know a lot of the things that we have that put us on common ground. Um, Battling and dealing with addiction, violence, but it seems like a lot of the negative aspects is always and only projected onto the black community. And it seems like the white community, it just puts up a wall where it's just non existent. They don't share those same problems. When in all reality, that's a lie because they do. When talking about being on welfare, it's projected as, oh, we're just welfare recipients. That's a black issue. No, there's more people who are white that are on welfare than there are that are black. When it comes to the situation, when it came to the addicts, I could give you a good case in point. My son's mother, she's white. She's a crack addict. She graduated to meth. Same with my other son's mother, who had passed away about 2 years ago. Crack addict. Graduated to heroin. She passed away. Okay? So it's not just a black issue. Addiction is also something that plagues the white community as well. They highlight it in movies. It was a thing with them. When you look at Woodstock, you had all these hippies and stuff smoking marijuana. You had the high class of white people having little snuff pouches, sniffing cocaine and stuff like that. But until crack rock got introduced into the black community, all hell broke loose. So we went from the crack epidemic, to dealing with the opioid crisis in the white community. A lot of the boogeyman complex when it comes to the fears and the concerns. You had black people being subjected to a lot of unfair stereotypes placed upon them by white folks to begin with when it came to like the civil rights movement, even before then when we were free slaves. And it came down to, okay, if there's going to be equality to be placed, that threatened the position of white people having jobs to now having to give up those jobs in fairness to giving them up to black people. Kind of like the same rhetoric with the Mexicans coming in, taking over the jobs that they say that, you know, is a threat to the American people, but they're jobs that people don't really entertain or want, so to speak. Some of the recycled rhetoric. When it comes to education and stuff, you have a lot of, how should I say, high profiled institutions of education that were once white only. Now, you have people questioning these HBCUs and talking about how they're anti this and anti white. Well, the reason and purpose for these HBCUs to come into existence is because blacks weren't even allowed to attend some of these prospering institutions of higher education. So we had to go create our own. And I noticed that's also an issue when it comes to the whole concept of pulling ourselves up by the bootstraps, because when we go to do that, that presents a problem to those on the opposite spectrum. Because when we go and create our own to say, hey, we're not going to complain about this, we're going to do something about it and move forward. That's like, then that also presents a problem to those who like to put up barriers to prevent us from succeeding, so to speak. And I find that kind of interesting. I brought this up before when it came to us expressing our grievances with law enforcement. It was perceived to only be a black issue within the black community that we have dealt with from the time when you had those that were slave catchers to the civil rights movement, when we were getting hosed by police officers with water hoses, attacked by their canines, gunned down, our leaders that we were having in the black community assassinated. A lot of our civil rights movement activists targeted by the FBI, the CIA, and labeled as terrorist groups. But yet you have like these neo-Nazis, KKKs, and other domestic terrorists that were known to just kill people. So when you have a resistance to go against a threat, how is the resistance labeled a terrorist but the threat isn't? That never made sense to me. But again, excuses were always given to the antagonists and not the ones that were the victims. But yet, you're not allowed to be a victim if you're a person of color. But if you're white, we got to coddle. We got to give excuses. But you're now saying that there's issues within the white community dealing with law enforcement as well. However, it's not highlighted in the media. So where black folks express our grievances and our anger and our flow of emotions to saying something has to be done, something has to be corrected, we shouldn't be hunted. For the criminals that deserve whatever they get from law enforcement, that's one thing. But for the working class, come on now. And to come up with all these bullshit reasonings as to why we're getting killed, shot, beat up, and all this, how is that progress? How is that us moving forward from the past? But then you hate us bringing up the past, but the past keeps repeating its fucking self. So if you ain't gonna correct what was done in the past and the present, then you're gonna continue hearing the fucking complaints. It's that simple. And why white folks don't express the same compassion and anger and frustration that we do, that's something for them to answer to, not us. We can't be the spokesperson for everybody else when nobody wants to hear us when we are expressing our grievances. Because like Martin Luther King said, what affects one directly affects everyone else indirectly. And sooner or later, shit's going to come fucking full circle. And you're going to wish that you had not been anti-black with some of the bullshit that y'all entertain. Just saying. I don't know what else to add to the list of things that I've already done, expressed in videos prior to this. But how do we move forward unified if we can't put aside our differences to see where we compare in our similarities? We have the same struggles under the same. I'm just saying. And then when it comes to the identity politics, I've already expressed that, how it's funny when you see all these immigrants that came over and migrated here to America who are all these different personification of white, from the French, the Italians, the Portuguese, the Germans, the Jews, or what have you. But they all agreed to take under the identity of being white or Irish under the white umbrella and just throughout the heritage. just to be accepted. But we in the black community are just struggling alone just to figure out who we are and where we stand in society. Anyway, that's all I got for tonight. Until next time, until next video, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think. And as always, peace.